Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So today we are going to start with theories. So before we could learn more about theories, a quick summary or recap about what we have completed. So in the last modules and classes, we got to understand what um, understand our own self better. So what are our emotional patterns, unique relational patterns, and what are our family scripts, family patterns, and understanding that, how we can journey down deep within our own self to find the core belief system, because the base on which we are building, the foundation is the unconscious patterns are the ones that is driving us if we are not conscious about the unconscious pattern. Okay, so the whole process, deals with how to go, downstairs to find the core belief system, and there sit with it and restructure it, and coming back to live life or making it a lifestyle. So hope you have journeyed through it and you're processing it. I'll not expect that you have all come out of it, but at least you would have gotten at least few glimpses, glimpses of what exactly the core belief systems are and where you can find it and how you can journey down deep. Okay, so one quick note is, unless you spend time to find this, you cannot find it. It is not just another learning that you listen to a video and you automatically get your core belief system. No, it doesn't work that way. So you have to sit with it because it is your life. See, the time that you're investing for this course, for this learning, is a lifetime investment. I would say it's a life changer, life transformational game. So if you could, it's the life investment that you're doing. So we do spend time for many things, right? But if you could plan to spend time for this particular thing, to journey to your own core, to find your core belief system and restructure it, you know that's where the change is. Okay, so it is just not for our own good and for our own transformation. It does, it will impact your family, the next generation, your extended families, your workplace, and definitely it will ripple out. Okay, so hope you're all journeying. And now that, as you process your own core belief system and restructure it and see the fruits for your own self, now you can translate to help others. How can I help others? So in the process of helping others, you need to know two things. One is the skills, how I can do that, the process skills. Okay, the second one is about the theories, the content, the science behind it, why I practice certain skills. Because whenever it is counseling, they talk about empathy, they talk about listening skills, right? So but what is it all about? Why am I doing it? And what is it actually doing to the therapeutic relationship? And why is it effective? Okay, so all those things is what the second module will look like. So I want to give the content as a recording so that you can listen to it. And then when we meet in person or uh, in practicals, you can apply it. We can check it out in person, like how this, the learned theory can be translated into skill or practice. Okay, so in classroom, what I'm intending to do is we do the practical part of the theories. Okay, because we are yet to start with the skills, counseling skills. Okay, so along with the counseling skills, we'll see how we can be therapeutically, do the session as such. Okay, so along with it, we are going to boost or strengthen the core concept of this whole course, journeying to the core. So there will be always in every class, there will be, at least few hours or at least one first session, reinforcing and re-insisting and checking on where you are exactly in the journey to your core. Okay, that will be there. The first session will always be this, followed by, after you listen to the, I'll be sending the videos I'm intentionally want to send it towards the end of the second week or the second week because I want you to remember what you listen and come to class so that we can apply it in practicals. Okay, so yes, uh, let's dive. Let's get to uh, the theories. Okay. So when it comes to theories, so you need to understand what is our therapeutic goal for any theory for it matters, for that matter. Because why we need to know theories? First of all, we need to know theories because it will help us to evolve our own theoretical orientation. Unless we know the already existing theories, we cannot come up with our own theory. We cannot come up with, you know, an approach for unique for your own self. I would always recommend that you have an approach for your own self. So I may see certain therapies, certain theories as effective. Purely, you can disagree with me, and you can have your own way or your own approach for yourself. That is the outcome that I'm expecting in this whole learning of theories. Okay, so that is one thing why we are learning theories. And the second thing why we have to learn theories, why we have to know or master theories is because um, they give you tools and strategies. They give you perspective lens, how to look to certain things. See, for example, Adlerian theory, if you take, he talks beautiful about the birth order. So how a firstborn personality will look like, how a middle child will look like, how the last born will look like, and the personality trait and what is their kind of the challenges that they face. So all those things. So each theorists have given their best to the psychological world, to the counseling realm. So that is one another reason why we need to know theories, because it gives you tools and strategies and also perspective lens. Okay, so as you get to the learning theories, unless this is a strong point that I want to tell you, uh, unless you honor the theorist, never say that um, why should I need to learn theories? They have their own flaws, they have their own mistakes. It is, in the 1800s they proposed, and how it is, don't ever, even in your, slightest thing, don't despise them or don't put them aside, because unless you honor a person, you cannot receive from them, because this is a helping professional. We need to learn and learn and learn every day. You cannot come to a point saying, yes, I got it. Not at all. Because always it's evolving. It's beautiful to see how it is evolving. So whenever you listen to a theorist, you know respect them, and you have to do it with all respect. You have to learn from them with all respect. Sigmund Freud, if you're listening, we may disagree with his ideologies, with his presentations, with his, uh, theoretical lens, but that should not in any way, you know, uh, stop us from learning from him, because he's a legend. He's a legend in the psychology world. So to learn from his wisdom, we need to honor the person. Okay, but the thing is, we can completely disagree with few points of them. That's perfectly okay. Nothing wrong in disagreeing. I don't need to take everything from all the theorists. I don't take everything from all the theorists, but I have a huge respect for all the theorists, because I admire the way that they have looked at the human mind, human emotions, and the life realities. Okay, so do have that honor and respect to the theorist, to the proponents of the theories, so that you get what they try to, give to this world. Okay, so these are certain things you have to keep as a premise before you learn from others. Okay, so wonderful. Um, Getting to the theories, the first and the foremost, our therapeutic goal. What is the therapeutic goal? Basically, is to bring unconscious materials or unconscious patterns or unconscious things into conscious awareness so that the client can gain insight and resolve deep inner conflicts, especially those rooted in childhood. So this is the exactly what you'll be doing in the goal in the therapy. Okay, so in the therapeutic relationship, as a counselor, my presence or what I facilitate in the counseling session is I help or I walk with the client to their deepest core and there be with them to enable them to see the core belief system, their own patterns and belief system, and there facilitate the process of restructure and walk along with them to the surface, bring it out to the conscious awareness. This is the role of therapist, and this is what exactly should happen in the therapeutic relationship. Okay, so I spoke about therapeutic relationship. What are the nature or the characteristic of a therapist in the previous videos. So if you have not listened to it, please do listen to those videos and then dwell on to it in the previous classes. Okay. Yes. Now the famous person, the first theorist is Sigmund Freud. A little bit about Sigmund Freud is he was born into a Jewish family. He lived between this 1856 to 1939. And see, basically what he did, what was his legacy is, he redefined the whole understanding of mental illness because till then mental illness was not delineated from spiritual aspect because demon possession or um, spirituality was quite mixed with psychology, the mental illness, and they thought everyone who are mentally disturbed or kind of demon possessed or there is some spiritual forces that is behind them. So that's why they were afraid to treat mental illness. There were many therapies like they used to drill holes in the skull to so that the spirit gets out of the hole. There are so many other thoughts about mental illness and a lot of if you see how mental health evolved, how people saw a mental health, beautiful journey. But so here in 1800s, Sigmund Freud is coming and he redefined the mental illness completely. And he brought in a new life for therapy. And he was the one to talk about the unconscious on the first place. And he said it is, just not the behavior that you're seeing, it is much more. Okay, it is not that, there is always a reason behind why a person is behaving in a particular way. He said that there is an unconscious matter which is driving this person to beat somebody, in reality or in his conscious awareness. So this was his outstanding, profound, thought of Sigmund Freud. Um, and he also spoke a lot about personalities. And his few contributions are ego defenses, personality, levels of consciousness, psychosexual stage. So these are the few things that you have to understand, okay, about him. So when you're listening to theories, just see how they saw the human mind, emotions, and how they interpreted it. Okay, so the key concepts of psychoanalysis by Freud was deterministic view of human nature. So he said, like, he had a very deterministic view about human nature. And he was the one to say that our behavior are shaped by unconscious motives, especially those instincts are sexual and aggressive instinct and early childhood experiences. So unconscious motives and instincts and childhood experiences are the two important things that he said, which is driving the behavior. Okay. So also he spoke about structure of personality. So you need to know what are these things because you can use it in your conceptualization of case. So id is the pleasure principle, which is unconsciously driven, very much impulsive. So it is just not age bound, like, as children, they want whatever they want to get it right away. So it is just not about the pleasure principle, pleasure for that particular age. See what for Sigmund Freud says is that even after we develop, grow chronologically, if we are stagnated or get fixated in any of our stages, psychosexual stages, our personality won't move from id. So his thought is, in personality, you have to develop from id to ego, and to see superego is kind of a self-actualization state. Okay, so that you have to attain, and he also says that only few attain that stage. So most of them live in ego, and if a person is going to live in id, okay, the pleasure principle state, so he's kind of a narcissistic person. So everything like he wants, I deserve kind of mentality. So he'll not, he's not other centered. Okay, so that is id. And next is ego. Ego is a reality principle. So ego kind of stands between id and superego. So it mediates between id and superego. So there is a pleasure that that demands something, and there is superego, the rules, the moral conscience say no, 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 this is not right, this is wrong. And ego stands in between and say, okay, you can do this at home and not in other places, or some mediation it does. That is ego. Okay, and next is the superego. As I mentioned, it's a moral conscience. So internalized societal or the cultural rules. So whatever that you have imbibed, you have taken it as rules and values. So this is the kind of structure that he proposed as for the personality. Okay. Next, the level of conscious. I told you, right? Like, what are the key proponents? These are the key concepts of psychoanalysis that you need to know, the levels of consciousness. So first one is conscious. What, it's nothing but what we are aware of, the stories, the past stories, or, whatever the intellect that I have, the knowledge, the memories. That is conscious. Next is pre-conscious. Pre-conscious is again, it is kind of just beneath the conscious, is what he says, which kind of acts as a uh, be rigid while we are consciously aware. When we sleep, or when we are, when we sleep, and this preconscious become kind of fluid, and that's when he says dream comes in. So the unconscious patterns give way to conscious, and that's where while you're sleeping, you get to all the dreams are about the unconscious, hidden, suppressed emotions, is what he says. Okay, so unconscious is another realm where deep memories, fears, trauma, that these unconscious are those that and affects our behavior, or dictates our behavior, or lifestyle, or choices, whatever it is. And another key concept that he spoke was about defense mechanism. So when it comes to ego defense mechanism, I think we touched a little bit in previous classes. So when it comes to ego's defense mechanism, it is unconscious process the ego uses to manage anxiety. So in this ego, he says he's talking about the, and you have to understand the word ego here. The ego is not that we usually use, this vocabulary is not that usual vocabulary that we use for being proud or something. This ego is the I, the self. Okay, so here he says that unconscious process, ego defense is that I'm not intentionally want to defend or justify, but unconsciously I use certain mechanism to manage anxiety. So when I say manage anxiety, see, for example, some situation happens, something happens, and uh, I'm running late to office, or whatever it is. So there is an anxious state. There is a kind of a threat, right? I am not reaching the office on time. So there is an anxious state. A threat is there. So to manage the threat, unconsciously, I process. I give a reason that is called rationalization. Okay, so I give them a reason which I try. It is not intentional, conscious, but unconsciously those mechanism happens, which will come out so that the anxiousness of the situation is eased out. Okay, so that is all about defense mechanism. So there are many types of defense mechanism people use, like repression, denial. Say, for example, when there is a loss, okay, um, you're not able to handle or grieve, or come out of the loss. Then what is the unconscious process usually happens is, or the first level of grieving process is denial. They say, no, 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 he's not dead, he'll come back, something like that. Okay, because of the loss, there is an anxious situation, there's a chaos, there is a threat that has happened to the status quo of this person. Okay, so to get back to that normalcy, there is some unconscious process mechanisms that we use to set it back to normal. So that is not going to help the person anyway. Those are not, the healthy thing that we are doing. No, this is just a mechanism to get back to the status quo, to the normalcy, whatever it is. Okay, so unconsciously this person thinks that, no, this my father didn't die, he'll come back. Or they come up with some irrational thoughts, and we as third person sitting and listening to them, we think like, oh, this is absurd. We try to explain them to accept, but because they are not intentionally doing it, it is difficult for them to accept difficult for them to see the way that we are seeing as a third person. So that's why we need to understand, when a person shares a story, shares a case or a difficult situation that they are going through, don't judge them for the defenses that they use. It is not actually their conscious intellectual in a mode. They are speaking from unconscious. And whenever that kind of thing happens, that is a clue as a counselors for us, for as counselors, that is a clue. What is the defense mechanism they are using? What is a common pattern of defenses they use? So, we can find out, because I told you our goal is always to find out the core belief system, the unconscious. So, to hit the unconscious, defense mechanism is one kind of the pattern of defense mechanism, what they usually use. If we could find that, that is again a clue for us to journey down deep, journey to the core. Okay, so why we need to know defense mechanism? Because it aids us in the process of healing. Okay, so that's why you need to know theories. Okay, good. There are a lot of defense mechanisms for that matter. So maybe I'll attach a chart in this. There are a lot of it, many: repression, suppression, sublimation, rationalization, justification, denial, humor. There are many levels, like advanced level. There are many levels of ego defense mechanism. Okay, neat. So next key concept of Freud is, he talked about psychosexual stages of development. So he said, as a person, as a human develops, he undergoes a kind of stages, and that is based on his psychological and the sexual stage. Okay, and he says that fixation in any stage can influence the adult personality. So as a person grows developmentally, chronologically, emotionally, a person grows. It's just not a chronological growth. A child should also grow psychologically and sexually, is what was his state. Because for him, according to Freud, the key concepts are the internal motives, okay, and the sexual instincts. So the unconscious and the sexual instincts are the dominant concept, he said, that which is controlling a person's behavior. So he proposed, or he divided the whole developmental stages, the lifespan of a human, into, few stages, and he marked it as psychosexual stages. And he said that a person has to go along these stages as well, as we have physical developmental milestones, right? And so at 1 year, the child, for the third month, the child should have a neck control. So we do have a developmental milestone. Likewise, Sigmund Freud gave this stages of development, that is psychosexual stages of development. Okay, and he was very particular in saying If a person gets fixated in any of these stages, it will influence their adult personality, or otherwise their what do you call, um, their behavior, okay, their relationship. Okay, so let's quickly see what are the psychosexual stages. Okay,